Welcome to the Wellness on Tap podcast with your host, Dr. Debs Eastwood.
Should we do it?
Yeah, let's
do it. Okay, so today I am sitting opposite the gorgeous Nikki Wakeman, who I am so delighted to have here because Nikki and I met a couple of years ago now and have bumped into each other time and time again over the years. But on one of our face-to-face meetings, she just looked me straight in the eye and said, "Debs, please may I paint your soul energy?" And I admit to being slightly, I don't really know that I understand what that is, but hell yes. I should have brought it with me, actually, shouldn't I?
did think I should have brought some art or even a picture. I've probably got it somewhere.
I can put it up. I'll find something and we can put it in the show notes. So that was when I started to realise a bit more about you. I'd met you face-to-face first time in London at an event, hadn't I?
Yeah.
And we were chatting and I said I'd seen you online where you do your card readings. And so was intrigued and thought, oh, there's going to be a bit of synergy here between me and this lady. But at that point, I didn't know much about you. So can we go back in time and decide if you can find a beginning point to where art became your thing? What drove you to do this gorgeous painting of my soul energy?
I think when I decided I would like to do art, which was when I was about 17, I did art A-level. I realised that there was quite a lot of constraints with art, which is fine. Obviously, you've got to learn the rules. You need to know how to do watercolour and acrylics or oil. There's obviously, you want to know the techniques, which is great. But A-level art is very much, you needed it to be a theme and you needed to almost like doing an essay, which of course they are, they're passing you on a grade. Mm-hmm. But I thought that even then I was like, I don't want to do this. So I think I did it on, well, I know what I did it on. I did all of my theme on, no, I'm not going to remember. There's dots. So it's like a French impressionist artist. It'll come back to me what it's called, but it's the really small dots.
Yes.
Because I haven't thought about this for so long.
Kind of stuff.
No, really old, like when it's like with Monet and I will think about it in a minute, but it's like very small and it was almost pixelated art. And that's what threw me, like how come so many years ago they had this interesting colour, just real fine colour. And they made it bigger and bigger and bigger. And so from far away, it looks like a beautiful riverside picture. But actually right near up, it looks completely different. And so I decided I wanted to carry on doing art and did wanted to do an art degree and did art foundation. Well, always I just wanted to express a feeling of the art. So whether it was sculpture or we did illustration, which is like computer graphics. But I always wanted to do the feeling, which of course a lot of artists, that's the idea. But almost like and the concept of the art rather than the art itself, which of course that was kind of my time because I was a 90s teenager. So it was all like Damien Hirst and Emin and all these people who were just wanting to show something of themselves or experience that people were having, good, bad, whatever. It's just all experiences. So I found that really interesting. And then I just gave up on art. I just thought it was too technical, couldn't do it. I got really freaked out because I got into Brighton to do art, fine art. And I just thought, I can't go, I don't want to go. It's all going to be full of people with pink hair and being like really expressive and all being very Brighton and be right on and all that kind of stuff. And I obviously had massive judgment on that, silly girl. But instead I went and did drama right up north. And actually that was a brilliant thing because it was just another way of expressing that was more free flowing. But years later, after I'd left art completely and thought I couldn't do it. I couldn't get it right. And then I had like a really, really traumatic experience, a long term, like a 2-year traumatic experience. And I didn't know what to do with myself and I couldn't speak of it. I couldn't speak what was going on. I couldn't, I just couldn't speak. I was sort of numb. I was confused. And I remember speaking to a woman who was one of my clients at the time. She said, what you need to do is pivot away. That's all I can say to you, is just pivot away from the stuff you don't want. And you think that's easier blooming said than done, isn't it? Just pivot, you know, just do it the other way. And also, we're in this culture that really needs to solve problems. We must look at it head on, solve our problems, and everything will be fine. And that's what we should do. But when you're only half of a problem, you're being I don't want to say victim, but something is occurring to you with someone else that actually is deliberately confusing you or trying to be very difficult, and you can't actually engage with them or negotiate with them at all. I was like, I don't know what to do in this situation. I need space. And my friends were like, look, I'll be there for you if you want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Every time I talk about it, I'm reliving it. I've got no solution for this. I either run or I stay and stay fast. And I thought my instinct was all just stay. So I had to find a way of focusing my mind on something beautiful, because I couldn't meditate. I couldn't do all these things that everyone says to do. And I'm a therapist and I do all these things, but it was so bad that I just couldn't. So I just got out paper, card, I bought paints, and I bought these amazing paints that a guy from Stuart Sample who is from Culture Hustle, and he makes these pigment neon paints. So you can put them on, and then you can like pour oil to make them oil colours, or you can make them watercolours, or you can do glue, or you can do whatever you want. And they kind of have a viscous kind of feel to them. So you can play around with them, and I really like them. And I got these big canvases, and I just painted. And I realised in that space, I could almost bring any part of myself up in safety without any judgment. And obviously you have the judgment of, oh, is this painting shite? Or is this painting okay? Or, oh, I like that bit, or I don't like that bit. But I tried to just not think of those things. Just think of the act of painting and the process of feeling my way through myself. Because I wasn't actually painting a flower or a road or whatever. I was just painting what I felt. And obviously later this is mindful, emotional painting, or painting your emotions. But I didn't know that at the time. I was just doing it as just a release. And it actually cemented quite a lot of that I was alive, that I was creating something outside of myself, that I existed. Because I felt like I wasn't existing.
That's huge then, isn't it?
So I just felt like I was just nothing. I couldn't escape. I couldn't feel. I couldn't do anything. So it was just like this. I did exist. And then it stayed there. This picture was still there and still showing me a part of myself. It's quite emotional. So it was that really, that was like a miraculous thing. And so that's how I personally felt I was able to express myself. But prior to that, in COVID, when my clients would do stuff online, I started realizing I could see their energy when I was doing healing with them. And it would sometimes be a story of their past, sometimes be a story of who they were in that moment, a part of them that would come out that I could see, and I would sketch it for them.
So like an aura?
No, because an aura, well, yes and no. An aura is like our ready brack, I always think, shows our age. It's that bit around us, and it is really, it changes. There's 7 colours, and they change depending on what we're feeling that day. It's more the energy that is their essence, or their happening, or something that's occurring within them, like a memory. I don't know. Because I actually don't know, and everybody's is slightly different. So I can do one, sometimes it's past memory, and sometimes it's a past life, or that they've been bound down and they're becoming freer, or it's a being that they always are. So it's their soul. So say we have a soul and we have many, many past lives. We're always the same soul. So it may be sometimes the journey that soul has been through, or what it's always going to be. Like, Debbie, you're always going to be a shaman. And you're always going to be that, but you're going to be called something different in each life because of the time you're born into. So I had one lady, for example, who was always somehow religious. So she was a nun, and then I kind of went back into her different lives, and she was wearing some sort of bear outfit. Obviously not man or woman. It's sometimes it doesn't matter about what gender you are. And so you could almost see, if I went back in the history books, like caveman, Neanderthal, right back, she'd had like about 4 different lives, all deeply pious, in a good way, pious. And so but that was just her. So everybody has a different essence, and shows me that essence in a different way. So it's every time it's new, and sometimes it's galactical, and sometimes it's very earthy, and sometimes people, it's just this life. Maybe they're newbies, or maybe they need to overcome something in this life to then be able to open up to the past lives. The people who past lives are quite open tend to be fairly in their own spirit, with themselves. They're not hiding. They've not got too many blockages. Tend to be older people, because they've sort of gone, I'm just me.
Yeah.
And some people are stuck.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. It's taken me all this time, how brilliant it is. And some people are stuck somewhere. And that's when it's tricky to tell someone that. And I don't say it like that, but I'll say, there's a point. If you can release that point when you were 4, then you will release the rest of you. And then you'll sort of see how much you've grown in all those other past lives to actualize yourself.
That's a very nice way of...
Yeah.
Gently saying, shift your blocks, love.
Shift your blocks, love, yeah. So that's
Sorry, we've let the secret out now.
No, everyone should know. Everyone should know, because it is, and we all have them.
Of course,
and sometimes, if you don't unblock yourself, something will make it do it for you. Like horrible trauma, then you have to stop painting to get over yourself. So it's good if you can do it without something awful happening.
Completely, yeah.
But often it's the way. Often people upgrade themselves and see themselves and actualize themselves when they have really had to dig deep.
Okay. That's an incredible story. I've just remembered something else that you wrote on the little sort of transcript about me. Like, yes, always being a shaman in one form or another. But one very vivid recollection you had was me as sort of a head of some sort of tribe, an ancient tribe, and the healer for them. So sort of bringing down the wisdom. And
you're like on the drums.
I love it. Oh,
that's like wonderful. Kind of like, beautiful headdresses.
Oh, I can cope with that. Bring it on. I love that concept. So you brought up a few things there. So one about being a therapist. So you delighted me by painting my soul energy. By saying it was the first one you wanted to properly sort of launch yourself with, which I'm super honoured about.
I was super honoured that you do it with me.
Oh, I mean, it is my Zoom background now. It is hung on the wall directly behind where I sit in the office.
I'm honoured.
So that everybody comments on it, and I always tell them who's done it, and that they should reach out to you. And when you were explaining it to me, you were saying that there's a big area of neon wonderfulness, the sort of yellow, slightly green spectrum. And you described that as me holding space, which you originally thought was perhaps my anaesthetic career. But then as you were getting deeper and deeper into it, and I love the way this evolves, I can see you doing this, the sort of thought processes going where you say, no, it doesn't, it means something different.
I think your anaesthetic career or not, you would have always done so for me, when I was painting it, the thing I had was you being able to hold space for people. Now, that's a very overly said phrase, because people are always leading people from the darkness into the light, or they're trying to help people. And what was very interesting about you, your energy, your soul's energy that I saw that day when we were painting, was the fact that you weren't doing anyone a favor. You weren't doing it because you wanted to lead them or be an advocate for them or be powerful over them. You were just letting them be, however sad, however happy, however any emotion that they're in, but you would just let them be. Now that is quite rare, because if people are sad, like, oh, don't be sad, don't cry. You'd be like an unjudgmental force of love.
Oh.
And that's what I wanted to paint, an unjudgmental force of love. But it's rare. It feels so rare to be with somebody who just lets people be truly.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really powerful, Debbie. You should be very proud of yourself.
I'm quite moved, actually. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you. So how has that moved forward into what you are currently doing? You've mentioned the word therapist, and I want to know what else what you did with your drama before you went back into art. There's so many things I want to know.
Well, what I'm doing now is I've trained to do art therapy, which seems like a sensible way to move forward. Because I've already a therapist, but I was a bodywork therapist, healer for 25 years. And I want to be able to give people a platform to be able to heal and express, because that's the bit I think is really joyful, of being able to witness your life and witness what you feel and then have it up, or even if it's in your loo, and it can be little and it can be big and it can be anything, or in a scrapbook, like journaling, but a more creative journaling.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I really want to do it so people who think they are rubbish at art, and I am no massive artist, it's very abstract, and it is, I hope, my journey through art as well, of being able to evolve my art techniques and expression will obviously change as time goes on, and techniques and mediums and all this kind of stuff that I'll experiment with. But I would like to be able to help people to be able to do that too. So I'm doing a course. So people have online classes, group art classes, and then one-to-one healing and then group healing. So we paint together and also do meditation and healing together, and then one-to-one, so they can have more guidance along that path. So they've got that dual aspect, to be able to feel that they can pivot away from their trauma and pivot to something beautiful. Because sometimes what's that expression? I always think from the sound of music, when door closes and a window opens, but you have to know where that window is. And if you sometimes don't know where it is, you think, yes, this is awful, I'm pivoting away, but I don't know where to go, and I don't know what I want to be, and I don't know who, because I feel so awful, I can't see further than just my awfulness. So I would like to give people the opportunity in a environment where other people are feeling the same, very small groups, but that they can express themselves and see something new in themselves that they can pivot towards, and that they can feel that they did that. And actually, they did that all by themselves. And it can be really personal, and you don't have to show your pictures, or you can show them at the end, or, the end of if you want to, or you might do loads of pictures. And I will give people inspiration, whether it be actually a photograph of a Starry Night or Van Gogh's Starry Night, and just whatever it might be, just to get you warmed up. It's not, that's the thing when something's, you go, oh, draw a picture. Like, well, draw what?
Exactly.
What? You need a framework. So I will want to give people a framework to work in, and they can copy it straight if they just want to get their technique right, and just feel that flow, to get used to paints, get used to this is going awfully, because you always will. You'll always go, this is not looking like it's supposed, this doesn't look like Van Gogh's. No, it won't. Yeah. And it's that, finding your own feet. And often we do need to copy, we need to model, to then do something ourselves and express ourselves. So that will be incorporated into it. So I would really like to help people find their new life, or turn over their next page, or find a way of expressing themselves through art. And then hopefully they can express themselves through life, because they're creating a new language that they understand. That book that we should have been given when we were born, of how to understand this baby and what they need in their life. Oh yes, they like loud noise, or they like open spaces, or they're like, their love language is this, whatever it might be. they just want one best friend or a group, whatever. And all these things really help us understand ourselves to just navigate our life better.
Yeah.
And then we have enormous changes that throw us completely. And then we need to remember just one part of us to spark off that, oh God, I did used to like that. And then think, well, I'll go back there. So it's just unlayering, but gently, without words.
I really like that. I think that approach is just completely different. I mean, there's so many kinds of healing out there, and they're wonderful.
God, I love it all. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bring it on. Just the more the merrier. But the way you're doing it is almost like a step further back from that. Something you almost kind of need to do before you can access the healing. So the door is being opened, like you were saying. I think that's
what I had to do before I could go. So after the few bad years I had, I actually did the painting first. Then I did healing on myself and with other amazing healers. And then I went to counselling because I could talk about it. And I had to do it that way. I can't be alone in that way of needing to do it. It's all of those modalities are needed.
Yeah, because we're all individual, aren't we? Yeah. So some will really work well for you, for instance, and they'd be absolutely useless on me, and vice versa. Which is why I'm just so give a voice to all these wonderful people out there.
Thanks.
Let everybody know that these people exist and that this form of healing is available. And you don't have to go to your GP. Sorry, GPs. Not sorry. As a concept, not sorry.
Yeah.
But, there's a place for that.
There's a place for everything. And I feel very sorry for doctors that have all these other ailments that come to them where actually they are supposed to be diagnosing, a bronchial problem or a foot problem, and they're not equipped with all the tonics that are needed. And so it's a two-way thing. It's like, they're not all supposed to be the GP's responsibility. And we have a free GP service, so we can afford to maybe do other modalities because we have this brilliant system. For how long, I don't know. But there is other ways to help ourselves, and teaching people how to help themselves. It's a lifetime. You buy a course or you buy a book or you join a workshop or whatever, and then actually you've got those skills for life and you can always go back to them.
Yeah, it's about, you've taken me back to that book you were on about, like the parents' guidelines sort of book. But what each individual needs, how to help yourself, that's something that seems to be lost. We're all looking outward for assistance, when really the human body is a miracle. It's an incredible machine, and it can solve everything if you give it the right inputs
and environment, and you listen to it, and you're kind to it.
Yes. And all that has just become less important.
Well, we've become massive consumers, haven't we? So we can buy something that will solve. It's somebody else. It's outside of us.
Yes, it's all external. No, exactly. I mean, if we put good quality food, water, environment, whatever environment entails, the people, where we are, everything. If we give our body all of that, we will have joy and we will flourish and we will be healthy.
And love.
Oh.
I think mentally, if we are well, we're physically well. Unless there's some, obviously hereditary stuff that goes on in our genetics. But on the whole, if we are lovely to ourselves and we get love from outside and we give ourselves love, and our mental attitude, and we're always looking for the good and grateful for everything that we have, and we're in a state of grace and gratefulness, our mental state will always be good. It's that simple. But sometimes that is hard. And that is why there are lots of people trying to help with this, because we are almost being told it should be one way. We're busy. We need to consume. We need to do lots of things. This busyness is quite something, isn't it? We're all supposed to be really busy all the time, because that's successful, being really busy all the time. And, you know, I'm going to say, especially for women, without any sexism, but I think because maybe we are very excited to be working and have a vote and all those things that only, what's that? 2 generations ago we didn't?
Absolutely.
Or 3 generations. So I think we've gone into a bit of a manic
overcompensation possibly, and which is manifesting itself as being overly busy and therefore neglecting self-care.
And you know that women die of more autoimmune diseases than men by something like 2/3, because we put too much stress on ourselves. And I want to just reel that back in. Just do something calm and joyful. Take our time. Should we do that? Go for long walks?
I know. I know. And that just seems as though you are not doing stuff that you need to be doing.
Because those things always need to be done. There's always washing up. There's always whatever. There's always stuff.
Yeah.
Let's not judge ourselves on the state of our home lives.
It would be very easy to do, wouldn't it? So you mentioned about, I think this hopefully ties in, where when you were doing your art as your own personal therapy, you mentioned about the seeking of love. Was that to love you?
I wanted to I felt like I was disappearing because I couldn't find a way out. So by seeing myself and giving myself that time to paint, that was a source of love, because I was giving myself the evening or whatever time it was, which was actually for me. And because it was for painting, it had like a reason to do it. Washing up will happen continually, but something creative and something that's it's mine.
Yes.
It's mine. It's my possession. I am my possession. I am mine. I am sovereign.
Thank you. That was the word that was in my head and you just pulled it out.
Good. Always happy to please.
Yes.
But yeah, I have my own agency. That's the other modern expression, isn't it? But yeah, and that's what it made me feel. And ever since I started painting, that has doubled every time I paint.
How wonderful. How wonderful to be able to find that thing that is solely yours and brings you that joy and that peace.
But we can all have it, because we can be witnesses to our lives by doing these beautiful works of art, whether it's a sketch or using magazines and, painting on them, and whatever it is, you're creating something that's only you could have done. Only you did it.
Yeah.
Like when you're a kid and you try and help when you're a kid, when you're a parent or a kid, both aspects, when a parent tries to go, I'll help you, and you're like, no, it's mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's quite right. No, it's mine.
Yeah.
This is all mine. And when you feel like nothing else is yours, it's all gone, you've got these little bits that are yours, and the build-up of that just helps you remember.
Yeah.
I'm alive.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you have to claim some things to be solely for yourself. And that used to be viewed as selfish, didn't it?
Yeah.
What a load of BS.
When you're in an environment when there's nothing left of you, I think that's what I can't, it does sound selfish, actually, it's mine. But I think I'm coming from a place where if you've gone through a trauma or you've gone through a situation where everything's being denied or everything's being taken away from you, and you say, of course they can't, because they can't take away your soul, or they can't take away, but they can try. They really can.
Oh, they can.
And these little things really help me to be able to reclaim parts of myself and build upon them.
Yeah, I don't think it's selfish at all.
Yeah.
I think it's necessary for your own personal survival, your own health, whether that be mental, physical, your own sense of being who you are, because if we're not who we are, then why are we bothering?
Well, this is it. And what are we doing? We're just another minion if we're not actually accessing our own wants and needs and desires. And I think as women as well, we end up doing lots of different roles. Where men, I think, are brought up to be able to be them, and they almost should stand in their proudness, and that's how they're kind of, that can bring its own issues for men, that they can't, be emotional or have other needs, but they have that thing to stand strong while we are very fluid. And I think we get caught up in everybody else's stuff and forget who we are. Just a little about the patriarchy. So I think it's really important for us, especially being parents, because we give so much to our children, which we want to do.
Of course.
But we have to draw a line somewhere.
Yeah, we have to still be us. We are not just a parent.
Yeah.
We are an individual as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can identify a lot with that. I spoke about it in my little edition of the podcast where Tony interviewed me about finally drawing a line under the fact that I just needed to stop all these repeated behaviours that weren't serving me. And then realising that actually, who am I? And friends, one of the most profound things for me that really illustrates it quite easily is people that have known me for 30 odd years. I was moving house. They came to the new house like you do. And they're like, oh, I didn't know you liked this, that, the other, whatever I'd chosen to do. And I'm like, neither did I.
It's you.
Yeah. This is actually me.
Yeah. I think I felt the same with my friends, that when I started doing art, they were like, oh. And I was like, well, I did do it, but I haven't known you since I was 18. I've known you since I was 25. And so it was an odd, I felt very uncomfortable with it before, because I thought people were going to go, well, she's not arty. And I wouldn't say I was trying to be arty. It's just, I want to do art.
Yeah.
I always wanted to express myself. I just always want to find ways to express myself. I did do a master's in dance movement psychotherapy, but I didn't finish it.
Okay.
I did 1 year. Again, another way of expressing. But I had my first child in the second year, so I stopped. But I loved it. We just pranced around. I mean, we did this amazing dance to Fiddler on the Roof one time that was just, it goes on in my memory, because there is something about that also that is the communal dance of life. But it's that kind of, once you really tune into each other, say there was like 20 of us in this room, and our teacher put on Fiddler on the Roof. And we all started doing this. We all knew musicals, we were all kind of into it. And we kind of did some of the movements, and then we all just did this massive dance. We all tuned into each other, and we did this amazing dance. And the teacher just stood there and went, where did that all come from? We all looked at each other and were like, I don't know, that was amazing. So it's this tuning into each other, and that's what I found really amazing about doing that course. Even though I didn't finish it, I didn't really need to. Because I wasn't going to be a dance movement psychotherapist. But I had baby instead, which was lovely. But yeah, it's the communal, like if we can tune in to each other as well, whether it's through dance or art or sitting with someone without judgment and letting people just be and listening and not waiting your turn and just letting it evolve. That's what I think the world would be, just a much better place.
That's a wonderful sentiment. I like that. And it answered a question for me, because I was going to say to you, so what did you do after your drama?
Okay, I did lots of things after my drama.
Go on, spill.
I finished my drama degree, and then I went and lived in London, and I got a job in television, working for London Week on Television. So, as it was then, as a runner for The Knock, which was a programme about, it's a bit like The Bill, but it was about customs and excise. And the same production company did London's Burning. So I did a season of London's Burning and a season of The Knock. And then I got a job. I'm giving you my CV now, but
it's interesting. It's your journey, isn't it?
On Spice World. So I was a stand-in for Sporty Spice.
Yay!
On Spice World, which was the best summer. I think I was about 26. So I wasn't like the Spice Girls were not my bag, if you know what I mean, because we were older. But watching the phenomenon of a mega group as such was quite something. So we were, a lot of the time as stand-ins, we would, because the talent, the Spice Girls themselves were so, they had to be bundled away all the time. They would just have fans all the time. So we would walk through and do their dance routines. So they'd light it, and they can rig up and do the sound and all that kind of stuff. And then we'd bring on each of our girls and walk through the lighting. We'd, mark it on the floor and stuff. So we'd bring our girls. And obviously we then worked with all their co-workers, which were people like, I don't know, Meatloaf and Roger Moore and just amazing people, Richard E. Grant. And, it was just amazing summer. So we had this summer of just having a brilliant time on location. So we were all over London, really, and Essex and Suffolk and stuff like that. It was beautiful.
What an adventure.
It was great fun. It was great fun. And then I worked for Andrew Lloyd Webber for when he started taking his musicals to video. So you could buy Cats the video, but so it was a stage performance, but they did it on Steadicam. They did it all over, so it was that was the studio, but they made it look like the stage. It was like you were having a theatre experience, but in your own home. But obviously, it still took 6 weeks to film and all the makeup and all that kind of stuff. And I did that with him. And Oklahoma was the same company, and that was brilliant. And the big star of that was Hugh Jackman. Who used to come to us and say, don't tell anyone, you're going to be really sick of me soon because I'm going to be on everything. And we were like, what do you mean? He said, I've signed like a 7-film contract with whoever. And we were like, yeah, whatever. But obviously, just before he was Wolverine. So there's lots and lots of good dinner party tales.
Yes.
But I was just running, or like third AD, which is like assistant directing. So there was lots of good fun, but I kind of realised I didn't want to direct, and that was the route I was taking. I wish I'd done more art, but I think I burnt out big time in that classic 90s drug-fueled way, and thought, I don't want this to be the rest of my life. I am too vulnerable to partying, and thought, I'm going to just go home. And I kind of went home thinking I'd failed, and that was what I really wanted to do. But actually, when you live it, it's like work experience, isn't it? When you live it, you realise I don't want to do that every day. You work in that environment, you work 8 months of the year, 4 months you don't worry about work, and everybody is taking enormous copious amounts of drugs.
Wow.
And they probably aren't now because of the decade I was doing it in. Not to give everything a bad name, but it was, hedonistic to say the least. And I thought, I'm not going to survive this.
That's very self-aware. Good for you.
Yeah. So I thought, I'll potter off. And with a slightly tail between my legs, because I thought this is what I wanted to do, but I just thought no. So I went travelling for a year then. And that was classic sort of, Australia and New Zealand, and it was great. But then I came back and ran my mum's business, which was a second-hand clothes shop, like a designer second-hand clothes shop, and I trained to do therapy. So I trained to do all the sort of physical stuff, so massage and reflexology and healing and Reiki and all that stuff, and then I set up my own business. And then I've been doing that through my babies and through doing dance movement psychotherapy for 1 year and all that kind of stuff. So it's all been, and I've been doing it for a long time, and it was an amazing business to have while you've got very small children as well.
Quite flexible, I would imagine.
Really flexible, you do whatever you want. So that's sort of been my journey so far.
Ooh.
What's your journey now, Debbie?
So mine is still to heal the world.
Yeah. Good.
Without Big Pharma being the major player in the game. They have a role. Hospitals and the NHS have a role.
I agree.
But medicines originally were found out in the forest where, or the woods near where you lived before Big Pharma existed. And they worked. So let's have it back. But
didn't Big Pharma buy up the rights to a load of homeopathic remedies like St John's wort and other arnica and others? I don't know whether it's arnica, but they bought a few, haven't they? So they can't be used now as homeopathic remedies unless it's through them.
Luckily, there's lots of other healing modalities that cannot be bought in any way, shape or form because they come from the individual, which is not something that is ever going to be of any interest to somebody that's interested in making money out of something. So I just my mission is still to just give voices. It's kind of the legacy to my brother. I mean, we know when he was sick in intensive care, which is where he needed to be, I was thrashing about looking for, well, what else can I do? He's suffering in this way, that way, the other way, that isn't being addressed by his presence there. In fact, he's probably being worsened by his presence in the intensive care unit. What can I do about it? And I couldn't find, I tried, I'm an intelligent woman, I tried to find things for him. And I'm like, well, this world is actually a lot bigger than what I ever conceived it to be. There's things out there that I have no idea about. And doing this podcast and talking to people such as yourselves, I adore because I'm learning so much. And I ran out of time to find something for him, because then if I'd have found something I thought was good, is the person that's doing it any good? How do I know? So his legacy is to find people that I know, like and trust. I don't particularly like that phrase, but it does say what it says on the tin. People such as yourselves that I would happily use their services and therefore would recommend them to family, friends, anybody out there. That's my mission.
I like it. You make me remind me of my mum died about 8 years ago of a disease that there is no cure for. She died of motor neurone. And I looked after her in the last year. And what she loved me doing was, I've got the one skill I have, which is one of the skills I have, is zero balancing, which is just where you put your hands underneath someone so you realign their hips. And so she was completely bedridden and in a wheelchair. So she couldn't adjust herself at all. And you think, imagine not.
Yeah, being
able to just, if you're annoyed or a bit uncomfortable and worried at yours, she couldn't do it. So I would do that for every night because she lived with us the last year. And so I did that for her every night. And she was just like, oh, you're coming in to just adjust my hips. It's the best thing. And I do Reiki on her and I do lots of stuff on her. And she'd just go, oh, no, that's the thing. And it's almost finding the thing. She was never going to live. It was always going to be just a matter of time. And just to help that person make those days better.
Yeah.
Was staggering.
Yeah.
And it is knowing how to help people and finding different ways and what they need and having their manual.
Yeah.
Like, how can we help you today?
Absolutely.
It's just don't give them all that you have those pills or you have that, because that's what, there's a tick box of what you do with this. So I'm with you. It is how to care for people, how to really make them feel wanted and comfortable and able to live and be and express, because it is a human right to be able to do all of those things. We're not supposed to be struggling or surviving. We're supposed to be thriving and having a really good time and always, while, it's like, oh, what would happen? Well, what would happen if it was really great? Everything could be really great. Yeah. But I guess that's that caveman thing, isn't it? That caveman essence of like, we've got to always be looking for the danger. Oh my God, is it coming? And we don't have to do that anymore. It's okay when they've got little kids or when we are little kids, because you don't know. But we now have all this experience.
Yes. And
we really can make the world nicer and our lives better. And by making our lives better, we're making our loved ones' lives better. And it's a butterfly effect. And, we are going to all cark it one day, but let's make it as comfortable and joyful as we can.
Yeah.
While we've got each other.
Wonderful. What a fabulous place to call this conversation a day for now. For now. And I'm going to be asking you to provide me with all your details so that people can get in touch and access the wonderfulness of you.
Thank you.
And I shall be shouting even louder about my soul energy picture because I adore it. And thank you for that.
Thank you for letting me do it. It's an honour.
Oh, mutual. We'll chat soon, my darling.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.